It was a cool morning. There was enough fog in the air to fog up the windows on my bus. I sat there, my cheek against the cool window, wondering how could I ever trust an atheist like myself. So today, in my first YouTube video ever, I'm here in my nice old closet, and I'm going to be talking about how I became a Catholic when I was just 13 years old, almost 2 years ago. Prior to this morning, around 6 months ago, I had broken up with my first girlfriend. Now, it was a middle school relationship, so obviously this kind of stuff doesn't actually count. But it still left scars. As many things do, it seems literal on the outside, but it does have a big impact on who we are. It left scars, but remember, God can fill our scars with glory and purpose. I was no different. She was an atheist, and she had broken up with me, not because of another man or something I did wrong, but because all of her friends were LGBTQ fanatics, very, very into this thing, militantly even, and she was no different. She believed in transgenderism, the idea that a man can magically wish himself a woman, and that is the truth. Well, I knew better than that. And I always speak my mind on these important matters. That's why I'm talking to you today. I do not hesitate to speak what I believe to be true. And at the time, I knew that that was the truth. A lot of things I did not have in order, but that was one of the things I did. I, being the foolish early teenager that I was, I wanted her back, you know? I thought this was going to be the end of the world. And, I mean, that is how it feels with our emotions and such. And so I protested the idea because, like I said, I always speak my mind. And she wanted me to apologize for saying the truth. This truth that a man cannot become a woman. That is something I knew. Of all the things, like I said, I didn't have a lot of things right with me. You know, I was an atheist, you know, and I'm better with that now. But there's still things I have to learn. Still things we all have yet to learn. And so she wanted me to apologize for saying the truth, and I actually did. I actually did apologize, because that is how much I actually wanted her back, although it doesn't work, because people who are born with lies, people who make lies an essential part of their lives, they can't hold the truth. They cannot keep up with what is true and good. She acted foolishly and like a child, but you know what the truth is? So did I. I was no different. You see, a lot of these videos that I'm going to be doing, this is the first of many of this channel, Catholicism with Colin. You see, I am no different. I have made a lot of mistakes, but thankfully I have come to become a Catholic, and this is a very good thing. So on that chilly morning, I sat there pondering those events. I wondered what everybody wonders about past situations. What could I go back and change? What could I have done differently? And then I wondered the thought, how could I trust someone whose moral code is only based off of temporary feelings and inclinations? And then I realized I, too, was that person. I was just like her. I was childish, foolish, atheist, you know, and everything I did not like as what happened, who she was being, how she was acting, was the exact same way I was acting, you know, and hypocrisy has no place in the faith. You know, and that's what I was. Like all people, a hypocrite. And I cannot judge other people for being such. Next, I thought about all the nice Christian girls I had met. How they had things that they lived by and placed higher than themselves, higher than their own emotions, right? This is an important thing. If you only go off of your temporary things, your sinful desires, guess what it's going to lead you? It's going to lead you to spiritual death, okay? It is very, very bad. And then I realized I, too, was somebody like that. I, too, was somebody who was driven only by their selfish desires and inclinations. And I was living a very sinful life. And I recognized that, even though I wasn't able to accept God yet. So I wondered, what about these Christians? Like, how do they hold themselves accountable in such this miraculous way? At the time, I believed the thought that all atheists believed. And that thought is that God was something that people made up to justify their existence and comfort them. I was that person. I believe that. This is something that a lot of atheists believe, that God is not simply a fact of existence, somebody who we can know and who strives to know who we are, but rather we made it up as some sort of way to justify our existence or justify the way that we prefer to live, and that we want to spread that to other people. That's what atheists believe. Now, this is wrong. We do have a God who loves us, who wants to come and find us. We do have these things, but atheists do not understand that. Now, I thought to these people who lived morally, people who lived by the principles I had believed in, things that I knew were right in our conscience. We all, in our conscience, we know the difference between right and wrong. We know murder is wrong, adultery is wrong, although both of those things are kind of, these days, in the satanic culture, trying to get twisted around in certain ways, which is an awful thing. But I thought maybe I could pretend to be a Christian, and that these people, these moral people, would want to be with me. These people would actually, like me, and not despise the way I was living. And that was a foolish thought, but it's one nonetheless. And like I said, it requires a lot of vulnerability to be able to discuss these things in front of a camera. Thank God I'm not discussing them in front of like an audience or anything, but who knows in the future. That'd be very difficult for me. So I thought maybe I could do it. Maybe I could be a Christian without the grace of God. Maybe I could live this moral lifestyle alone. That was a dumb thought. A very dumb thought. Because we cannot, as Christians, live without the grace of God. Without God, we are nothing. We're no different. We are also sinners. But Christ is the one who gives us the gift, who gives us this greatness. But I was not that person. I was not a Christian, and I was not a moral person at all, and I couldn't phony my way through. I continued with my day and didn't think about it for another month. It's because the distraction of the world distracts us from what is important, but God always finds a way. Remember, distractions. Satan uses distractions of the world to take us away from what is really important. He'll distract us from all kinds of things. Drama, sports, video games, television. I mean, you name it. Social media is a huge one in people's lives. These will distract you from what is important, which is Jesus Christ and his church, which is exactly what you should be spending the most amount of time thinking, praying, and doing everything that you can about this subject. So like I was saying, God finds a way. In my years in middle school, I was very political, very much, and people did not like that about me at all. Any of my friends watching this, yeah, they know exactly what I'm talking about. I was very conservative, and in a lot of ways I still am, through my faith. And that was something my girlfriend and her friends hated about me. See, she was very left-wing. Her friends, like I said, they were very LGBTQ and such. They were not a fan of me at all. That was something they hated about me. Now, like I said, it was very bad because our area was a very liberal area. They did not like me, and they wouldn't even let me speak on that. Like they wouldn't let me. They wouldn't consider what I was saying. But that's typical, And I wasn't considering what anybody else was saying either at the time. To be fair, so the social repercussions of being a quote unquote Trump supporter were very heavy, although my interest in big things let me to get ahead in front of my generation in thought. Even though everybody hated me at the time, at least I was focusing on things not just about chasing girls or chasing popularity or these kind of things. That was something good. And you know what? I probably wouldn't be here today if I hadn't have been looking at things higher than me. And so I watch shows on the Daily Wire. If you don't know what that is a conservative, I guess you could say, Judeo-Christian valued conservative program. They do all kinds of shows there and everything and stuff. It was a conservative news website. I was listening to a Christian by the name of Andrew Clavin about this thing called objective morality. This idea was unknown to me. What the heck's objective morality? I'll explain it to you. Do not worry. So, at the time, I had no experience with any sort of theology, right? And it's weird because atheists, who aren't, militant and everything, people who just don't think about it, like I said, the world distracts us from what is important. They don't think about these kinds of things. And so I had never, ever even heard these kind of apologetic arguments, but here's one of them that was told. The analogy that he used was, what if you were teleported to a world of Nazi baby killers? Who is morally correct? One good and one evil. Well, who is correct in this world? Now, what you're probably thinking, wait, what do you want about? What are you talking about? Let me explain. As an atheist, you must ponder the question, who determines what is right and wrong? The most plausible and accepted, that isn't just straight anarchy in the moral sense, is the society makes the rules for what is right and just, that the modern society is always better than the one before it, right? And this is really reinforced in our culture today, right? They're like, oh, those stupid slaveholders, all those intolerance and everything. They always look back on the past with hatred, not understanding, not grace, not forgiveness, but hatred, thinking that we are perfect. And 200 years from now, they'll look back and say, look at that barbaric society. They did such and such practice, which we do not know. And this is just generally what American atheists think, and what a lot of atheists around the world who've given it any sort of thought have thought in, right? So, okay, so if you're in a society of baby-killing Nazis, since they are the society, does that mean that they're right? If a society is what determines what is right and wrong, are they the ones who are correct? Do they get to determine that that is right? Well, if you're teleported to this world, you'd be like, heck no, that's obviously evil. We all know in our consciences that is evil. You know, Nazism is a godless world, a godless ideology. So, essentially, what he was getting at was that there has to be something higher than man to determine these laws. Now, if you have any sort of moral conscience, you know some things that are right and wrong. You might not be on board with all of them, or understand completely, but you at least have a grasp. Murder is probably the most, hated of them all, then rape, such and such. So these are things that we know, and if you don't think these things are wrong, I would really recommend going to see some sort of therapist or doctor, because you're probably a sociopath or some other psychology disorder. Okay, so the short answer is, what exactly is making this moral order? It cannot be man. What else is higher? Okay, so remember in Genesis, right? God presented to Adam all the different creatures on earth, okay? I was thinking about this today. He presents all the different creatures on earth. Who exactly does Adam pick? None of the animals. That's the thing. He doesn't pick any of them, because man is the highest thing, okay? Men on earth, of all the creatures of earth, right? Not God, not God, obviously. That would be heresy. But, okay, so these animals, they are in a different level. God made people to be with people. He made woman. He made Eve, right? He made wives to be with man. That is who man's companion is, not animals. So we are the highest on this earth, right? We have been told to take care, to take care of the animals and the environment on this earth. So, right, we are the highest on this earth, so there has to be something above us, above our sinfulness, to determine these rules. Well, there's no other logical explanation besides some sort of God. Now, for the hard part, right? Who is God? This is the question that it would take lifetimes to answer. Thank the Lord, much of the work was already done. Think about all of the saints. Think of Aquinas, Augustine, all these people. They have been writing and speaking about God for a long time. Well, through their lifetimes. But their works, right? They've been added upon for 2,000 years, our church. Plus, if you want to count it, also, before Christ and everything, like the Jewish scholars and everything, right? Talking, revealing truths about God. So that stuff, like the hard stuff, way harder than what I was going through, was already done, which was really good. So give me a moment. For thousands of years, people had written about God, like I was saying, received God and loved God. The thing I failed to understand was that they weren't just looking for God. God was looking for us, and He's looking for me. Okay? I knew that if God existed, surely all the religious that I had met were at least onto something. They, at least, if they're searching for God, surely they've found something. Since Christianity happened to be the closest religious tradition to me, I was looking for God. That's where I decided to go. And that was a good choice. You should, even if you meet an atheist, be kind to them, because eventually, if they come to this great point of being able to wanting to discover God, who do you think they're going to come to? They're going to come to you. So be a good Christian. Do not be ashamed of your faith. Do not hide it, right? Do not hide it from other people. Be honest. right? And that really helped me. Okay, so I looked up on the internet, as I did with everything. How do I become a Christian? So some Protestant answer came up, and I was to recite the Our Father prayer. Let's pray right now. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. So, I was to do that, and apparently, I'm a Christian now. Great. Well, is this really all there is to becoming a Christian? Is this really what being a follower of Jesus Christ was? I didn't think so. So, right, the person who pointed out that, God existed, this guy, Andrew Clavin, he is a Protestant from, an Anglo-Catholic thing. I think, something, Anglican or something like that. Episcopalian, one of them, right? However, other political commentators on the Daily Wire seem to be more grounded in this idea to live a more Christian life. No offense to him if he is ever watching, which he probably won't ever, but I'm just saying, I'm not trying to say that. For example, I thought there's this guy named Michael Knowles. He is a Catholic. I would recommend you Catholics to check him out. He has good political commentary. He's a member from the faith, so you don't have to second guess every single thing that he says. He's pretty well versed. So he was a practicing Catholic, and then I just thought he was mentioning that, and I was like, what's a Catholic? Catholicism to the youth and everything is such a foreign idea. Like, they know kind of what a Christian is. They just think, oh, Christians are the ones trying to make all the fun go away and such, which isn't true, but that's what they believe. They at least know the terms, right? They don't know Catholicism very well, which is a very bad failure on the part of the church, and so that's something that needs to be fixed. But regardless, we're in this situation where I had no idea what a Catholic was. So I knew there was more to Christianity than I had initially thought. I had no idea what a Catholic was, so I did what I always did, looked it up on YouTube, and I had found a video from a particular priest, one who appeared to be honest and forthcoming. I had a lot to learn, right? So this priest's name is Father Mike Schmitz from Ascension Presents. I'm sure you all know him. Very big star on Catholic YouTube. I subscribed to Ascension, and I began to regularly binge videos from Father Mike and others, like Pints with Aquinas, all sorts of other things, right? So that summer, I believe it was the summer of 2020, and then into the fall of 2020, I had binged. I just kept watching them because it was like if you've ever been starving, you just go and you find food, you just just like, it was like that. But like I said, it's like spiritual nourishment, right? It was amazing. All right, it felt good. Wisdom was pouring into my ears, and I was like a sponge. That's what's great about being young, is that when you hear new information, it soaks in. You can take so much in. When you're older, it's not as easy. Right, so I did that, and I became pretty well versed in the faith, and it's really helping me now, now that I'm later on. So if you're ever pondering Catholicism, watch some videos. If you need me to, I can link some in the description if you want some good recommendations. And so I learned a lot of things, and I learned lots of new ideas. I learned apologetics, biblical truths, and most importantly, I was beginning to find God. So, the most important step, I wanted to become a Catholic. I had a lot left to learn. So, becoming a Catholic. Being Catholic, obviously, isn't just about the arguments, isn't just about all these things. You need to go and receive the sacraments, right? And, I'm sitting around watching videos, that's great and all, learning new things, that's great and all, but it's time for some action. So, I had a hard time finding a local parish nearby, but I managed. I looked on Google Maps, found the website to my current local parish, and I decided to give a call. And a woman there got me in contact with a priest who I will not name for privacy reasons, and I knew I still had a lot left to learn. I met with the priest, and he gave me a book to read called Waking Up Catholic. Now, I'm going to go get that book right now. Right, so here's this book. It's called Waking Up Catholic by Chad R. Torgerson. I don't think I mispronounced his name, right? I would recommend this to anybody who has significant questions about the faith. It goes over a lot of things, from the sacraments to tradition to the stuff about Mary and the saints. It's a great book. I was glad that the father decided to make me read this. It was really great. So, he gave me this book, right, and it answered like a lot of my questions. What it meant to be a Catholic. So I was committed. I was going to become a Catholic. When I set my mind to things, I get them done. Sometimes it takes years, but I get them done. So, next I went back to the priest, and he gave me some books about the 7 sacraments and the Catechism. And I only read part of the one on the sacraments because, again, I was foolishly distracted. Distractions of the world will take you away from God. And that's what happened. So, this was around, like, June of 2021. So, it's been over a year since I pondered that first question. Over a year since I was just binging those videos. Right? So, I went back. I was just like, all right, like, I watched a couple videos on the sacraments and everything, which that sufficed it. Like a couple hours of videos is pretty good. So I went back and I was like, I understand the sacraments. I understand these things. So, he told me that he was going into retirement and everything. So he was going to be leaving the parish, and I'm going to have to go with somebody else. So, he gave me a list of some things to do, like, a profession of faith and everything, but I had no direction. I didn't know anybody. I wasn't in contact with anybody else except for him. So, that was not cool. So, I was, again, foolishly distracted for a couple of months after that. And then, I believe it was around July, late July, or maybe August. I think it was, it was July. I decided, you know what, it's been enough time, I'm sure they've got a new guy in there, so I called the church again. And, okay, so God has a lot of patience, right? This is something that a person I was about to meet was going to teach me a lot. So I called the church, and they told me that, a religious brother from Arizona would be arriving, and for once I wasn't distracted. I was focused. I was to call the next day. I knew what I was going to do today, because that was such a weird year, 2021 for a school year, because everything was just so chaotic. I mean, it was not great. So I had a bunch of time on my hands, but for once I wasn't distracted. I knew what I was going to do the next day. I knew what I was going to do the next week, which is a really great thing. Bring order into your lives, because through order, God can maintain your soul. Okay, order is a good thing. Order is the opposite of chaos. Who thrives in chaos? Who thrives in anarchy? Who is that? Satan. That's right. So, I called the next day, and we arranged a meeting for Saturday. So I met with him, and we discussed all sorts of things, but you know how it is, like, you have a conversation, and it's long, and you just don't really remember the details. We talked about basic things, got, like, a little tour of the church and everything, met the new priest there, I believe, maybe not new, but I met one of the priests there. Now, I met with him, and we discussed a lot of things, like I said, and I was far from distracted. This is good. My distractions are gone. Afterward, I joined RCIA, and currently, right now, I've been there. It is October now, early October, and I am on my way to receiving my first communion on November 20th, right? And on November 20th, that is going to be Christ the King Sunday, the last day of the liturgical year. And so I say thank you to all of the people who have helped me on my journey. May that be like the people who taught me, people who led me in this direction, and to this religious brother. If you're watching the video, you know who you are. Thank you so much, everybody. So, right now I'm in faith formation, and I'm going to be receiving my first Eucharist in, I guess it would be a little over a month. So, very excited for that. And so, what was your experience of becoming a Christian or Catholic, if you've gotten there yet? Or if you just have any questions in general, things you'd like to say, leave them in the comments. Although I expect this video will get something like 6 views and everything, won't do very good. But, you know what? This isn't about the views. It is about reaching the word of God to you, reaching my experience, because maybe you guys have had similar experiences. I would hope, for my sake, because I don't like being alone in this, but, it's a very interesting story, because like I said, a lot of people my age, they aren't interested in the big things. They're interested in, chasing girls, or, just, sports, things that don't end up, usually don't end up, they can end up being important, but, you understand what I'm saying, not, chasing God, because God wants us to come to us. God is chasing us, but we're never chasing God. Sometimes people are running in the opposite direction while God is chasing them to come give them a hug. Anyway, I really hope you enjoyed the video. I would like you to stay tuned on this channel. This is Colin with Catholicism, or no,